It is 2:53 in the morning on March 2nd, 2026, and I am standing at the edge of a canyon rim with tears still drying on my face. I cannot go inside. I have tried 3 times tonight to go back in, and each time I get to the door, and I cannot do it. I cannot go back into the ordinary world after what happened to me out here. Not yet. Maybe not for a while. I need to tell you something, and I need you to understand before I say it that I am not a dramatic person. I am not someone who makes things up or exaggerates for effect. I am someone who has spent a long time being very careful about what I claim, very careful about what I say out loud, and what I keep to myself. And what I am about to tell you is something I have been sitting with for 3 hours now, right here at this rim, trying to decide if I have the right to say it, trying to decide if I am the right person to carry this message. And every time I tried to talk myself out of it, I felt it again. That warmth in my chest that started this whole thing, that warmth that I first felt when he sat down beside me, and it kept telling me, go tell them, you were there for a reason. You heard what you heard for a reason, and the reason is not just you. So I am going to tell you. I am going to tell you everything, and I am going to ask you to stay with me all the way to the end, because what he said at the very end is the thing that is going to stay with you. It is the thing that made me fall apart completely, the thing that I am still, honestly, still putting myself back together from. But it is also the most beautiful thing I have ever heard in my life. You need to hear it. I came out here tonight because I have been going through something. I do not want to get too deep into the details because this is not about me, not really. But I need you to understand the context. I lost an animal recently, a dog I had for a long time. And I know that sounds like, I know some people hear that and think, well, that is just a dog. But this dog had been with me through the hardest years of my life. This dog had sat with me through things that I could not talk to another human being about. And when she actually went, something in me went with her that I did not know how to get back. And I have been asking the question that you ask when something like that happens, the question that everyone asks and nobody seems to have a real answer to. I have been asking what happened to her. Where did she go? Is she anywhere? Is there anywhere for an animal to go? Does it matter? Does any of it matter? And I have not been able to find an answer that felt true. I have gotten a lot of answers that felt like comfort, but comfort and truth are not always the same thing. And I needed the truth. I needed to know what actually happens. So tonight I came out to this rim, because this is where I come when I need to think, when I need to feel small enough that the question feels possible to hold without being crushed by it, when I need the expanse below me to remind me that there is more to the world than what I can see from inside my own small life. And I sat down on the rock right here and I looked out at the dark and I asked the question out loud for the first time. I said it right into the canyon. I said, I need to know what happens to them. When the animals die, where do they go? I need someone to tell me the truth about this. And I want you to know that I was not expecting an answer. I was expecting the question to just fall into the canyon the way words fall into big empty spaces. I was expecting the dark and the wind and the silence that you get when you speak into something that does not speak back. But that is not what happened. The air changed. I have tried to explain this to someone already and I could not find the words, but I am going to try again. It did not get warmer or colder. It became present. The way a room feels different when someone you love walks into it even before you see them. That specific quality of changed air. And I knew without looking that I was not alone anymore. And I looked, and he was sitting on the rock beside me. And I want to try to tell you what he looked like, because it matters, because it is not what I expected, which means it is probably true. He did not look like the paintings. He was not luminous in the way the paintings make him luminous. He was present in the way a person is present when they are completely, entirely, 100% focused on you, when there is no part of their attention anywhere else, when you are, for this person in this moment, the only thing in the world. That kind of presence, that was what he was. And his eyes were the thing, because they held something that I can only describe as complete knowledge without any judgment in it, like he knew everything about me. Every corner I have cut and every promise I have broken and every place I have been less than I should have been, he knew all of it. And it did not change how he was looking at me, not even slightly. He was looking at me the way you look at someone you have loved for a very long time, the way you look at someone whose whole story you know and you love them anyway, not in spite of it, just through it and with it. I could not speak for a moment. I just looked at him, and he let me look. He was not in a hurry. He has never been in a hurry, I think. I think one of the things that is true about him is that he does not experience urgency the way we experience urgency. He is always completely where he is. And finally, I said, I asked you something. And he said, I know, I heard you. And I said, will you answer me? And he said, that is why I came. And then he was quiet for a moment. Not the way you are quiet when you are stalling, the way you are quiet when you are choosing how to begin something that is too large to begin carelessly. And he looked out over the canyon, and his face, when he was looking out at the expanse, had something in it that I can only describe as pride. Not arrogance, pride in the way a maker has pride, the way someone looks at something they made with their hands when it has grown into more than they planned. And then he turned back to me, and he said, I want to tell you something first before I answer your question. I want to tell you that the question itself matters. The fact that you came out here to the edge of things in the middle of the night because you could not stop asking where she went, that matters to me more than you know. And something about that already broke something loose in me, because no one had told me that the question mattered. Everyone had been trying to help me stop asking it. Everyone had been giving me answers so that I would stop sitting with the ache of not knowing. And here he was telling me the asking itself was the right thing, that the not letting go of it was in fact love. He said, you are right not to accept the easy answers. He said, there are a lot of easy answers to this question. Some of them are well-meaning, but they flatten something that should not be flattened. And you have been right to keep pressing, to keep sitting with the not yet knowing. That is not weakness, that is honesty. That is the kind of honesty I have always found beautiful in people. Now, are you ready to hear what I tell you next? Because I need you to be ready. He said, let me tell you about the animals. And I want to stop for just a second and speak to everyone who is listening to this right now. I know some of you came here because of the title and you are not sure what to make of what I am telling you. And I want to speak to the ones who are on the fence, the ones who would normally click away from something like this. I want to say, I understand. I am not the kind of person who normally tells stories like this either. This is new for me too, and I would not be doing it if I had not been at this canyon rim tonight and experienced what I experienced. I am not embellishing, I am not constructing a narrative, I am telling you exactly what happened, and what he said is going to matter to you. I believe that with everything I have, so please and stay with me. He said, let me tell you about the animals. He said, when I was making the world, when I was in the process of bringing everything into being, the animals were not an afterthought. That is the first thing I need you to understand. They were not a background feature, they were not scenery. They were not made to serve the humans and nothing else. They were made as a full expression of something I wanted to say, something I wanted to put into the world in a form that could move and breathe and feel, something I wanted to exist not for utility but for the pure fact of existing. Because some things need to exist just because they are beautiful, just because the world is richer for having them in it. And I made the animals to be that thing. He said, every animal that has ever lived has carried something that I put in it specifically, a specific quality, a specific way of being present in the world. The loyalty that a dog carries is not an accident of evolution. It is something I wove into them on purpose. I put that in them because I wanted that quality to exist in the world in a form that could not be argued with, in a form that could not philosophize its way out of loyalty. That would just be loyal, would wake up every day and be loyal without needing a reason, because I love loyalty, and I wanted it walking around in the world in a body. And I need to pause here because what he said next is the part that I have been turning over for 3 hours, and I am still not sure I am going to be able to get through it without losing it again. I am going to try, but I need you to know it may be difficult. He said, when an animal dies, here is what happens. He said, what I put in them does not stop. The quality I wove into them, the specific thing that made them that animal and not another, that does not end when the body ends. He said, I made them out of myself, the same way I made everything, out of myself. And what comes from me does not disappear. It cannot disappear. It would require me to disappear. And I am not going anywhere. He said, when your dog died, when she left that body that had carried her to you and been with you through everything, she did not go into nothing. She went back into more. She went back into the source of what she was, and the specific quality she carried, that particular way of loving you without condition, that loyalty that sat with you through the years you could not talk about, that does not dissolve. It joins the greater form of itself. It becomes part of the fabric of what the world is made of. I was crying by this point. I want to be honest about that. I was not pretending to hold it together. I just let it happen. And he stayed right there beside me. He did not try to fix it. He let me feel it. And there was something in being allowed to feel it fully in his presence that was different from crying alone. It was being witnessed, and being witnessed by him is different from being witnessed by anyone else, because he sees all of it. He sees what the grief is made of, and what it is holding, and what it is protecting, and he does not flinch from any of it. He said, I want to tell you something about the love between people and their animals. He said, you think that you loved her, and you did, but I need you to understand something about the love you had for each other. That love was not generated by the two of you alone. I was in it. The love that passes between a person and an animal, that specific love, I'm especially present in that love, because that love is one of the purest forms of what I intended when I made the world. There is no transaction in it, there is no performance, there is no love because you did something to earn it, or maintained a version of yourself that the other one approved of. It is just love, constant, dependable, present every single morning when you open your eyes. And that, he said, that kind of love is one of the closest things on earth to what I am. I am going to stop for a moment. I am going to stop because I need to speak to some of you directly. I know there are people listening to this right now who are in this grief, who have lost an animal recently or not so recently and are still carrying it, who were told, maybe by someone well-meaning, that it is just an animal, that you should be over it by now, that your grief is disproportionate. And I want to say to you, from what I was told tonight at this canyon rim, that grief is not disproportionate, that grief is exactly proportionate to the love that was real, and the love was real. It was, by what he told me, one of the most real things that can exist between two living beings. And you were right to love that deeply, and you are right to grieve that deeply. And if anyone has made you feel ashamed of how much you miss them, I need you to hear this clearly. You were loving the way you were made to love, and he noticed. He said, I want to tell you about what they are doing now, the animals that have died, the ones that people are missing tonight. Because I know you are not the only one asking this question. I know there are thousands of people right now who are lying awake asking where they went. He said, they are with me, and I want you to know what that means, because I do not want to give you a word and have you fill it with something vague and uncertain. When I say they are with me, I mean they are in the fullness of what they always were. They are no longer limited by what a body can hold. The loyalty your dog carried is no longer constrained by the shape of a dog. It is no longer limited to what can fit in the number of years a dog body can sustain. It has expanded into its fullest form. And the love you two had together, that specific love, that thread between you, that thread is not cut. A thread does not get cut just because one end of it moves to a different room. It stretches, it remains. And when you feel it, that warm thing you sometimes feel when you are missing her, and then suddenly for a moment you feel something warm in your chest for no apparent reason, that is the thread. That is real. That is not grief tricking you. That is the love still moving between you, because love does not require both parties to be in a body. I need to tell you what he said next, because this is the part. This is the part that put me completely on the ground. I want to warn you before I say it, so that you can be ready. He said, I want to tell you something about the waiting. He said, the animals that have died and are with me, they have not forgotten the people they loved. This is not a situation where they moved on and you became a distant memory. He said they remember. In the way that memory works on my side of things, which is different from how it works where you are, they hold what you were to each other. They hold the mornings and the specific way you smelled and the sound of your voice when you were happy versus when you were scared. They hold all of it, and they are interested. They are still interested in you, in how you are doing, in whether you are okay, in whether you found your way through whatever it was they sat with you through. He said, and I want to be careful here because I do not want to give you something sentimental that is not true. He said, there is something I would describe as expectation in them, not in an anxious way, not the way you feel when you are waiting for something scary, but in the way you feel when you are looking forward to something you are certain is coming, the certainty kind of expectation, the peaceful kind. He said, they are waiting for the reunion the way you wait for someone who is coming home after a long trip. You know they are coming. You know how good it is going to be when they get there. And the waiting itself is sweet because of that certainty. He said, they are going to see you again. He said, I want you to hear that as a fact and not a comfort. I know the difference matters to you. I heard your prayer. I know you said, I do not need comfort. I need the truth. So I am telling you the truth. They are going to see you again. And the reunion is going to be something neither of you will need words to describe, because words are for the place where you are now. On my side of things, there are better ways than words to hold what that will be. I was not on the ground yet, but I was close. And then he said the last thing, the thing I warned you about, the thing that I am, 3 hours later, still on the other side of. He said, I want to tell you why I made it this way, why I made them so that they love without condition, why I made the love between a person and their animal so strong that when the animal goes, the person is undone by it, why I did not make that love smaller so it would hurt less when it ended. He said, I made it that way on purpose. I made it that way because I wanted you to have a taste of what it feels like to be loved without condition while you are still in your body, while you are still in the place where that kind of love is rare and hard to sustain between two humans with all of their complexity and wounding and defense mechanisms. I made the animals to carry that love and bring it to you in a form you could receive and feel every single day because I wanted you to know what it is like. I wanted that to live in your body as a memory because once you have been loved that way, once you know what it feels like, you can recognize it. You can recognize when it is being offered to you by something larger. You can feel the shape of it. He said, they were my letter to you, each one of them, my specific letter to the specific person they chose to love. Not accidental, not random, chosen. He said, your dog chose you. I want you to know that. In the way that choosing works before a life begins, she chose you. Because what you needed and what she carried matched. Because the years you were going to go through and the kind of love that would get you through them, those two things lined up. And so she came to you, and she stayed with you, and she loved you without condition through every single thing. Because that is what she was made to do, and she did it completely. And he said, and this is the last thing he said, and I need you to hear it. He said, none of it is lost. Not one morning, not one ordinary Tuesday where she just lay at your feet while you tried to work. Not one night where she heard you crying and came and put her head in your lap without being called. Not one walk, not one look. Not one moment of that love is lost. It is all held. It is all known. It is all, every single piece of it accounted for, because I was in every moment of it, and I do not lose things. And that is when I went completely to pieces. That is when I just stopped trying to hold anything together and let it all out, right here on this canyon rim at whatever time it was at that point. And he stayed. He did not go anywhere. He just stayed right there while I came apart and then slowly came back together. And the canyon was dark, and the wind was moving through the expanse below me, and everything was very large, and I was very small, and somehow that was exactly right. He left quietly, the way the warmth in the air slowly returned to ordinary cold. And I have been sitting here ever since trying to figure out how to tell you what I just told you. Now I want to talk to you. Specifically, you, the person who is going to hear this and feel it land in the exact place where you have been carrying the grief. You know if that is you. You already know. And I want to say a few things to you directly before I close tonight. The first thing is, your grief is not too much. It has never been too much. The depth of what you felt for your animal and what they felt for you is real, and it is one of the most sacred things that can exist between two living beings. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. Do not let anyone, including yourself, tell you it is time to be done grieving. You will be done when you are done, and being done does not mean forgetting. It means carrying it differently. The second thing is, the love is not over. I know it feels over because the body is gone, and the body was how the love came to you every day. But the love itself, the thread between you, that is not gone. And I think you know that. I think that is actually why you have been unable to stop asking the question. Because some part of you already knows the love is not over. Some part of you has felt the thread still pulling. And that part of you is right. The third thing is they chose you. Hear that again. They chose you. Before the life began, in whatever way choosing works in the realm where these things get decided, they came toward you specifically. You were not randomly assigned each other. That love was not arbitrary. It was, by what I was told tonight, deliberate. And what it taught you about love, what it put in your body as a felt experience of being loved without condition, that was the whole point. That was the letter you were supposed to receive, and you received it, and it is still in you, and it will never not be in you. I want to give you a prayer before I close, and I want you to say it with me if you can. Just close your eyes for a moment if it is safe to do so. Say this. Thank you for them. Thank you for the love that came in that form. Thank you that I got to know what it feels like to be loved that way. Thank you that the love is not over. Thank you that they are held and known and not lost. Thank you that the thread is still there. And thank you that someday, in whatever form the reunion takes, I am going to feel that love in its fullness again. I am going to wait well until then. I am going to carry what they gave me, and I am going to love the things around me with some of the love they taught me. Sit with that for a moment. Just breathe with it. Now, I need to ask you to do something. I need you to send this to the person in your life who is carrying this grief right now, who lost an animal and does not know what to do with how big the loss is, who has been told in some way that their grief is too much for what it is. Send it to them, not with explanation. Just send it. Because what he told me tonight is not only for me, it was for you, and it was for them, and it was for every person who has ever loved an animal and lost them and needed to know it mattered. It mattered. All of it. Every single piece of it mattered. It is 4:41 in the morning now on March 2nd, 2026. The canyon below me is beginning to make its first pre-dawn sounds. There are birds starting somewhere down in the dark, and I do not know exactly what they are or exactly where they are, but I can hear them, beginning their first sounds of a new day, alive and going about the work of being alive, and it feels like the right way to end this. They are still going, the living world is still going, the love is still moving through it, and the ones we have lost are held in the keeping of someone who does not lose things, someone who was, as it turns out, in every single moment of that love, every ordinary Tuesday, every night they came and put their head in our laps. He was there, he was in all of it, and he remembers every piece. Come back when you need to hear this again. I will be at the rim. But before I let you go, I realize I have not told you everything he said. I have given you the shape of it. I have given you the answer to the question, but there was more. There was a conversation that went on for a long time at this rim, and I have been editing it in my mind as I recounted it, trying to give you the most important parts, and I think I need to go back and give you more, because what he said about certain specific things is too important to leave out. After he told me about the animals being held, after he told me about the reunion, I asked him something. I asked him the harder version of the question. I said, okay, but what about the animals that are not loved? What about the ones that do not have a person, the stray ones, the ones that live and die in places nobody notices, the ones that suffer and go and nobody marks it? What happens to them? And his expression did something complicated, because I think he had been expecting the question. I think he was glad I asked it. He said, that question reveals something good in you. He said, the fact that you asked about the ones nobody noticed rather than stopping at the comfort of your own answer, that is the kind of thing I made you for. That kind of expanding attention, that refusal to be satisfied with just your own portion. And then he said, every single one of them is known to me. Every single one of the ones that lived unseen and died unseen and had no human to mark their passing. I want you to hear this clearly. There is not one animal that has ever lived on this earth, not one creature that has ever drawn breath and felt the world and then left it, that I did not see, that I was not present for, that I did not know specifically, individually, by name, in the sense that all living things have a name with me, every last one. He said the ones that were never loved by a human were not unloved. I loved them. I was with them in every moment of their existence, just as much as I am with the ones that sleep at the feet of someone who adores them. And when they left the body, they came back to me. They came back to the one who had been with them all along, even when no one else was, even when the world did not see them. I want you to hold that. I want you to actually hold that, because if you are someone who has spent any time thinking about the animals of the world and feeling the weight of how many of them live difficult lives, how many of them suffer without any witness to the suffering, how many of them go without any human hand to ease the going, I want you to hear him say that. Every single one is known, not in a generalized cosmic sort of abstract way, specifically, individually, with the full attention of the one who made them. He said, and this is going to be a big thing to take in, he said, the suffering of an animal that has no human witness does not go unwitnessed. I am the witness. I have always been the witness, and what I witness I carry, and what I carry I hold, and what I hold is not lost. I was quiet for a while after that, just sitting with it, and he let me be quiet. The canyon below us was doing its canyon thing, moving air up from the depths in these slow, dark currents, and I sat in it and tried to let what he had said settle into me. And then I asked him something that I was almost afraid to ask. I said, why does it hurt so much? If the love is not lost, if the reunion is coming, if they are held and known and not gone, why does the grief feel like it does? Why does it feel like a hole in the world rather than just a temporary separation? And he turned to look at me with an expression that was almost tender in a way that made it hard to look at directly. He said, because you are human. And being human means you experience love through presence, through the specific, embodied sensory presence of another being, the weight of them, the smell of them, the particular sound they make, the way they occupy space in the room with you. He said, you were not made to grieve easily. You were not made with some efficient system that processes loss and moves on cleanly. You were made to love in a way that leaves marks. That is not a design flaw. That is the whole point. He said the grief you feel is not evidence that something has gone wrong. The grief is the shape of the love when the love cannot reach the form it is used to reaching for. You love in a direction, and the direction is still there, but the form is not, and your love keeps reaching and finding absence where it is used to finding presence. And that reaching, that specific ache of reaching, that is love continuing. That is love refusing to stop even when the form is gone. And I made you to be the kind of being that loves that way, that does not simply redirect its love when the object of the love changes form. He said, do not try to heal the grief by talking yourself out of the love. That is the wrong direction. The grief heals not by diminishing the love, but by slowly expanding your sense of where the love can reach. By learning, over time, to love in the direction of where they actually are, rather than only where they were. He said that expansion takes time, it cannot be rushed, and I am not asking you to be there before you are there. I am only asking you to keep loving, keep reaching, and know that what you are reaching toward is reaching back. I want to stay with that for a moment before I move on, because I think that is the thing that most of us get wrong about grief. We try to get over the love in order to get over the grief. We try to diminish what was there so the missing is smaller. And he is saying the opposite. Keep loving, love bigger, not smaller. Love in a direction that feels strange at first, the direction of where they actually are rather than where they were. And trust that the love gets there. Trust that the reaching reaches something. Can we talk about something practical for a moment? Because I know that some of you are in the very raw beginning of this grief. Some of you lost an animal recently, and the wound is so fresh that what I have been saying tonight sounds like it is for someone who is further along than you are, and I want to speak to that place specifically in the first days and weeks, when you keep turning to look for them and they are not there, when you walk past the place where their bed was or their food bowl was, when you come home and the house has a different quality of air because they are not in it, when you wake up in the night reaching for them out of habit and your hand finds nothing. In those moments, I want you to try something. I want you to, instead of pulling your hand back and telling yourself stop, I want you to let the reaching continue. Let your hand reach, and then slowly let it settle, not onto absence. Let it settle onto the knowing that what you loved is not absent. It is only in a different form, and your hand is reaching through what feels like nothing towards something that is actually, by everything he told me tonight, very much still there. I know that sounds difficult. I know it might sound strange, but he told me that the way through grief is not around the love. It is through it. It is continuing to love in the direction of what you lost and trusting that the love does not fall into a void. It reaches something. It always reaches something, because love is not a feature of the body. The body is just how love travels for a while. And when the body goes, love finds other ways to travel, slower maybe, less obvious, but real. He told me something else that I have not told you yet. He told me about the animals that are still here, the living ones, the ones that are with people right now tonight. He said, I want you to pay attention to the ones you still have, not in a fearful way, not in a bracing yourself for loss way, but in a receiving what is being given way. He said, every day that you have them is a day of receiving the letter. Every ordinary morning, every ordinary evening, every Tuesday. He said, the love being offered to you right now by the living animal in your house is the same quality of love, the same unconditional presence that I have always been trying to give you. And one of the reasons I made them is so that you would have a way to receive that love in a form that gets through all of your defenses, in a form that you cannot argue with or rationalize away, in a form that just sits at your feet and breathes and loves you and will not stop. He said, one of the things I would ask of the people who have animals with them tonight is to put down whatever they are doing at some point today and just be completely present with them, not while doing something else, not as a thing on a list, just be there with them fully. Feel the specific weight of them if you can hold them. Notice the specific look they give you. Let it be the whole of your attention for those few minutes. He said, you will be surprised what that does for you, because in that full presence you will feel something that is very hard to feel otherwise. You will feel what it is like to be loved without condition, and being loved without condition, even for a few minutes, does something to a person that nothing else can do in quite the same way. He said, and this is going to sound like a big thing, but he meant it plainly and directly. He said, treating your animal well is not a small thing spiritually. He said, the way you care for the ones I put in your keeping, the attentiveness, the gentleness, The showing up every day to meet their needs, even on days when you do not feel like it, that is not insignificant. That is practice. That is you practicing the exact kind of love I am trying to work in the whole world. The showing up without fanfare. The consistency. The presence that does not require the other one to perform or earn or explain themselves. He said, when you kneel down to your animal every morning and they look up at you with that specific look, you are in the presence of something holy. I mean that exactly, not metaphorically. That exchange, that look, that love is holy, and I am in it. I want to ask you something. When did you last tell someone about an animal you lost? Not as an aside, not as a parenthetical in a bigger story, but as the story. When did you last give yourself full permission to tell the whole story of who they were? The specific things about them that made them them and not another animal. The thing they did that was strange and particular, the way they always knew when you were sad even before you knew, the specific comfort of their specific weight and warmth. I ask because I think a lot of us carry our animal grief very quietly. We do not want to be the person who is undone by the loss of a dog or a cat or whatever they were. We minimize it before someone else gets the chance to. And in minimizing it, we deny ourselves the full acknowledgement that what we had was real, and what we lost was real, and the grief is real. I am giving you permission tonight from this canyon rim in the dark to tell that story to someone, to say, here is who they were, here is what I loved about them specifically, here is what I miss, not as a passing comment, as the story, as the full story. Let someone know what was lost, because the telling of it is part of the honoring of it, and they deserve to be honored in the full specific particular way that they were. He told me one more thing. Right near the end, he said, I want you to know that this conversation we are having right now, this answer to your question, is not only for you. He said, there are people who are going to hear what you tell them tonight, and it is going to land in a place in them that has been waiting for exactly this, that has been carrying an unasked version of the same question, that has been grieving quietly for something they were told was too small to grieve. And for those people, what you say tonight is the thing that gives them permission. Permission to feel the full weight of the love and the full weight of the loss and the full certainty that it was real and it mattered and it is not over. He said, tell them that I was in it. That is the main thing. Tell them that I was in every moment of the love they had with their animal, that I was in the ordinary mornings and the unremarkable evenings and the nights when the animal came without being called because it could sense that something was wrong. Tell them I was there. Tell them I noticed. Tell them I hold every moment of it. Tell them it is accounted for. And tell them the reunion is not a maybe, it is a certainty. And the waiting, if they can hold it that way, is sweet with that certainty rather than hollow with loss. And then he was gone. The warmth in the air returned to ordinary cold. The canyon rim was just a canyon rim again, rock and dark and wind and the vast expanse below, and I sat there for a long time, going through it all again, making sure I had it, making sure I could carry it out of this place and into a form that could reach the people who needed it. And now here I am telling you, at 4:41 in the morning on March 2nd, 2026, and the birds are starting down in the canyon, those first quiet sounds of something that does not know it is about to face another day. It just faces it, the way the living world always faces it, without philosophy, without needing to understand the whole thing first. Just alive, just present, just doing the work of being alive with whatever has been given for this particular day. They are doing that right now, the ones we lost. They are in the fullness of what they were, and they have not forgotten us, and the thread is still there, and the reunion is coming. That is the whole answer. That is everything. Now go love the ones you still have today. Go love them with all of it, and carry the ones you have lost with the knowledge that the love is not a closed thing. It is still open, it is still moving, and he is in every single bit of it. Come back when you need to hear it again. I will be here. I realize I have one more thing I need to say before I truly close. I have been at this rim for a long time tonight, and I have been so focused on getting the answer right, on giving you what he gave me in a form that could travel from this canyon into your ears and your chest and your specific grief, that I almost forgot to tell you what it felt like to be in that conversation. And I think that matters. I think how it felt is part of what I was supposed to carry out of it. Because here is the thing. Here is the thing I did not expect. I went out to the rim tonight carrying the weight of a question that I had been told in various ways was not supposed to be that heavy. I had been told by well-meaning people that the grief I was carrying about her was out of proportion, too big for what it was, and after months of that, I had started to believe it. I had started to carry the grief with this extra layer on top of it, the grief itself, and then also the shame about the size of the grief, the sense that I was weak for how much it had undone me, that I should be further along by now, that something was wrong with me for not being further along. And sitting at this rim with him in the space of that conversation, both of those things changed, not just the grief, the shame around the grief, because everything he said about the love, about the purpose of it, about the deliberate depth of it, about it being one of the closest things to what he is, that did something to the shame, that dissolved it. Because if the love was real, and the love was as real as he said it was, then the grief is real, and real grief for real love is not a weakness. It is just what love looks like when the form it travels through is gone, and I should not have been trying to get past it faster. I should have been doing exactly what I was doing, sitting with it, asking the question, refusing to be comforted by answers that were not actually true. He honored the question. He said the asking matters, and I want to pass that on to you. Whatever you are carrying tonight, whatever grief you have been made to feel is too large for its object. I want you to hear from this canyon rim at 4 in the morning on March 2nd, 2026, that the asking matters. Your specific, personal, particular grief for your specific, personal, particular animal matters, not because I say so, because he said so, because he was in every moment of that love, and he knows exactly what it cost you to love that way, and he knows exactly what it cost you to lose it, and he has not moved on from it either. He is still holding it. He is still in it, the whole story. One of the things he said that I keep coming back to is this. He said, I do not experience your grief as a burden to manage. I experience your grief as evidence of the love that I put in the world, working the way I intended it to work. When you ache for what you had, I do not see someone failing to cope. I see someone who was given a real gift and is responding to the loss of it in exactly the way a person who truly received the gift would respond. Your grief is, in a sense, your testimony to the love. It says the love was real. It says it mattered. It says you were actually present for it and not just going through the motions. And to me, that testimony is beautiful. It is exactly right. It is exactly what should happen when the love I made meets the people I made it for. I want you to say something. I want you to say out loud, right now, the name of the one you lost. Just the name. Just say it into whatever space you are in. If you are alone, say it out loud. If you cannot say it out loud, say it in your mind. Let the name take up space for a moment, because the name is the shape of the specific individual that was sent to you, and speaking the name is a small act of honoring the specific that was loved, not animals in general, not the category of pet, the specific being with the specific name that was yours and you were theirs. I am going to say her name. Her name was Bo, and she was mine for 14 years, and she sat with me through things I do not have words for, and she loved me on the days when I was hard to love. And she came and put her head in my lap without being called on a night 7 years ago when I was on the floor of my kitchen and could not get up. And she stayed there until I could. And I am telling you, after tonight, after what he told me, I believe she knew. I believe she knew what she was doing. I believe the love she brought to that moment was not instinct in the empty sense. It was her, specifically, her love for me, specifically, meeting me in the lowest place I had been. And she was enough. She was enough to get me off that floor. And I am standing at this canyon rim right now at 4 in the morning because she got me off that floor. And he told me she is still there. She is still held and known and not lost. And someday I am going to feel the full weight of her again in the fullness of what she always was. And I am going to wait for that day with everything I have. That is the thing he gave me tonight. Not just the answer, the waiting, the way to wait. He said, wait, with the certainty that the reunion is coming, and let that certainty be the ground you stand on, not grief as the ground, certainty as the ground. The grief will come and go, it will come in waves, and it will ease, and it will come back. But underneath all of it, underneath the coming and going of the grief, let there be certainty. They are held, they are known, the love is not lost, the thread is still there, and the reunion is not a hope, it is a fact. Stand on that. Stand on that when the wave comes. Stand on that when you walk past the empty place in the house. Stand on that when you turn to look for them out of habit and find absence. Stand on it and let it hold you. Because it is solid. Because he told me so at this rim at 3 in the morning, and he is not, in my experience of him tonight, someone who says things to comfort. He says things because they are true. It is 4:52 in the morning on March 2nd, 2026. The dark is beginning to soften at the very edges, not light yet, just less dark, and the canyon below me is coming alive with the sounds of things that do not know they are being observed. things that are just doing the work of being alive in the pre-dawn, finding food, moving through the world, taking up space in the way that living things take up space, unapologetically, fully, without needing permission to exist. That is what they did when they were here. Your animal, they took up space fully and unapologetically and without needing permission. They loved you without needing permission. They came to you without waiting to be invited. That is the love I am talking about. That is the love he is in. And that love is still going. It is still moving. It is moving right now in the pre-dawn of March 2nd, 2026, from wherever she is toward wherever you are, moving the way it always moved, without permission, without waiting to be invited, just moving toward you because that is what it does, because that is what it has always done. Feel it if you can. Be still enough to feel it. You do not need to be at a canyon rim. You do not need the dark or the wind or the vast expanse. You just need to be still enough and open enough and willing enough to let the love that is still moving in your direction find you. It is looking for you. It has been looking for you. And now you know it is real, and now you can let it find you. Go be with the ones you still have. Go receive the letter that is still being written. Go be present, fully present for the love that is still arriving every ordinary day, and carry with you all the way through whatever comes next, the certainty that the ones you have lost are held and known and not gone, and that the reunion is coming, and that the waiting is sweet because of how certain it is. He told me to tell you. So I told you. Come back. I will be here.